Hi, welcome to the Bandwidth Buzz. I'm Paige, and Jim and I are excited to discuss a new feature within our outbound calling product called Enhanced Voice Transit. Couple quick items as we get started. There's a Q&A box on the control panel that you can enter in any questions. If we don't get to them during the webinar, we will absolutely send the response after. And you will receive a recording link to today's webinar after in an email. So be on the lookout for that over the next couple of days. All right, let's hop on in.
So hi, thanks, Paige. So I'm Jim Mulder. I'm the Outbound Voice Product Manager for Bandwidth International. So I'm responsible for all aspects of all of our outbound voice products. Only been with Bandwidth about 1.5 years, but I've been in telecoms for just over 31 years.
Awesome. And I'm Paige Mattis. I'm a senior solutions marketer here at Bandwidth. I cover our voice and our insights products. So excited to be with you all today. Let's talk a little bit more about EVT. So, Jim, other providers, they call this, or they have, a wholesale international transit product. What is different about what we offer with Enhanced Voice Transit?
Thanks, Paige. So Enhanced Voice Transit offers everything that a wholesale international product offers, but it also offers national termination in about 32 different countries. It's a nice, sort of easy to use, straightforward product. There's no need to whitelist numbers or for those who are Bandwidth customers of old to use diversion headers or anything complicated like that. EVT allows us to transit both the customer's own numbers, but also third-party numbers over the one connection. Oh, sorry, the other thing that does allow us to do is where customers have a complicated porting regime that they're going through onboarding a new customer, they can actually send us outbound traffic from day one of that while they're still porting the rest of the numbers over, because we can transit the third-party CLI for them. So it's a good way to get access to that revenue earlier.
Awesome. So we're just really simplifying outbound voice.
Yeah, it just really makes it a lot easier. It's a one connection. You can use it the same way you'd use an international transit product, but you can also do national transit on the same connection.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
Let's talk a little bit more about what this looks like. So we have 32 countries that we offer national and international calling with a number from a third-party provider. So, Jim, what is so valuable about national calling?
Yeah, so the way I like to differentiate the international and national, just so we've got similar understanding, is whether or not you need a passport to make the journey if you're a human. So if it's Germany to Germany, you don't need a passport for that journey. You're fine on your driver's license. If you go Germany to the US, you're going to need a passport. So that's an international call. So what you can see here on the difference is you've got the top call is a Spanish number calling into a UK number, and that's obviously an international call. It's a passport call, so it arrives in international format. The second call down at the bottom is a national call. So both calls should be UK to UK, and that means we can present the CLI in national format.
And why does localized CLI presentation even matter?
Big thing is it's what people are used to seeing. So if you're at work or whatever, and you tend to see calls come to you from your regular suppliers in the same country, they all arrive in national format. If you see that call in international format, your mobile handset or whatever, you're less likely to answer the call. So if you're in the UK and you see a call coming in saying +44 1483, that's not familiar. That's not what you're expecting. If you see it saying 01483, that could well be a regular contact. You're more likely to answer the call.
And would you say that this typically improves the call quality? And what about cost?
Yeah, so in general, the cost position is lower on national. Thanks for reminders on that one. but keeping the call nationally. So calls that come to us, we connect direct into the PSTN network, either onto the fixed line or mobile networks. And as a result, that improves call quality. Nothing goes out over international gateways to come back into countries. And I mean, on that, as you may well know, several countries now block national calls that hit national gateways. For example, Ireland does, and the UK is moving to do the same thing. Or in the case of Germany, if you send a German to German call and that touches an international gateway, the regulator insists that the calling number is anonymized. So again, now you're presenting no CLA and a much worse call connection, because our product keeps all of those calls nationally. So your German to German traffic routes nationally over there, you don't run into that issue.
That's great. So it's not only improving that call quality because across a lot of other providers, you're having to go through multiple hops, but it's also offering typically that least cost routing, which is ideal.
Yeah, so improved cost, generally improved call quality, and also a much higher answer ratio by calls arriving in a familiar format.
So let's take a look at the countries that we offer enhanced voice transit today. So, as you heard me mention, we have 32 countries, and we are focused on offering enhanced voice transit where we have full stack PSTN replacement. So, that would be bandwidth offering outbound, inbound, and emergency services. We're going to send you this availability after, so no need for you to screenshot or scramble to write this down. We have 2 countries that we are adding to the mix. South Korea is slated to be available this month in August, and then Israel is planned for Q4. And then moving forward, any of the countries where we add full stack PSTN replacement, we'll be looking at adding that national and international calling capability for the third-party numbers. So let's talk a little bit more about international transit for enhanced voice transit. All the transits.
Too many transits in one sentence to be good.
How many times can we say that?
Yeah, so where we're really happy to have the 32, where we can offer both national and international. In the other 223 countries, territories, call them as you will, where we can't offer national EVT at the moment, we can offer international EVT. So those are calls that originate in one country and terminate in another. So back to the earlier analogy, these are all your passport phone calls. So we can do, let's just caught up with this. So we could do from Brazil to Peru, as the slide highlights here. That's fine. I can do Brazil to Argentina, or I can do Brazil to the UK. I cannot do Brazil to Brazil, because that would require us to have national presence and all the national interconnects that would be required for Brazil.
Great.
And again, on this, as we said earlier, it is just the one connection the customer needs. So they could send me Germany to Germany calls, France to France calls, France to Germany calls, and Brazil to Peru calls, all down the one connection. We will sort it out. We will route the German stuff nationally in Germany, the UK stuff nationally in the UK, and the international stuff over our international network.
So you're telling me we're not requiring them to split up their traffic and figure out where they're sending national or international.
Yeah, exactly. So that the customer doesn't have to split the traffic up at all. We do all that work. Yeah, and to keep all the stuff in the right either national or international routing tables.
Yeah, we love simple, don't we? So if we take a look at really what makes us unique and what's different about our outbound calling, I'd love to hear what you think makes us different and our value that we offer our customers.
I think it really is this connection to the 32 countries, so we can keep that traffic in country directly into the PSTN network. That gives us extended visibility on the CLI to help us to maintain CLI at all time. Whereas when calls go up onto the international network, that can be harder to maintain CLI. So I think that's a real plus. And plus, as we were saying earlier, the simplicity that the customer doesn't have to differentiate its traffic. It can just send it to us and we will differentiate it and deal with it correctly.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the nitty gritty. Like, what's next? How does a customer with bandwidth today get this set up? And what does that look like? So if you're interested and you're already a customer with us today, please get in touch with your account manager to get a contract set up for Enhanced Voice Transit. There's no cost for the feature. The reason that we have to do a contract is basically covering saying that Bandwidth doesn't offer emergency services for Enhanced Voice Transit traffic because it's a third-party number. So that provider that you get the number from, they're providing the emergency services. And, if you want to talk more about your specific functionality or use case, also reach out to your account manager that you can set up a call to discuss the details. If you are possibly a new customer with Bandwidth and you're thinking about adding outbound calling with us, absolutely, we'd love to talk more about what challenges and use cases you have today with your current provider with outbound calling and how Bandwidth can offer that value to you. So we'd love to just be able to learn more about how we can support your needs. So we're going to hop into a couple of questions. I've got some already in the chat. Feel free to add things as you have them. This would be a question, I think, for a current customer with Bandwidth today. So if they are using diversion header today, will it still work to also have enhanced voice transit?
Yeah, so again, Paige, we built the product to be easy to use. So if the customer's connecting to us using diversion header, that works today, it'll carry on working. Once the EVT contract's in place, at the customer's own rate, as and when they're ready, all they'll have to do is simply stop using the diversion header. And all the rest of the call flow remains exactly the same, and they'll now be moved on to EVT.
Great.
It's that easy.
Helpful. So someone said, I'm interested in what you mentioned earlier about migrating traffic before portability. Can you explain this more?
Yeah, so frequently if you're dealing with a largish company and you're going to be porting numbers over in sections, you might sign the customer contract up, let's say 1st of January, but your first port date might not be till the middle of February. But what you can do is you can pick up that customer's outbound traffic from the 1st of January and send it over to us using EVT, where it's using a third-party CLI. And then once the numbers port across and port onto our network, then they'll just receive the usual outbound service, which will have all the same functionalities. But because the number's then ported over, then we would be able to do emergency services on the call. So what it really is a matter of, you don't have to wait until the port date before you see any revenue from the customer. You can start picking up revenue from the date your contract goes live.
Awesome. And that's, I think, really important for any of our new customers that are thinking about joining Bandwidth. Knowing that you don't have to wait is really important. And same for our current customers that may be using other providers. So Hong Kong was on the list as temporarily unavailable. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that means? Local routing in Hong Kong is currently very intermittent.
Yeah, so Hong Kong, we were hoping to launch EVT earlier, but there's actually quite a few complex issues around the regulations and what the individual suppliers in Hong Kong will actually offer as to whether we can make the national element of the EVT product work. From the international side, it's fine, but we list it as temporarily unavailable because we can't offer the full service there we want to at the moment. We're still investigating with more suppliers and trying to work in with the regulator to see if we can get an allowed service in Hong Kong.
Absolutely.
It is a difficult country because of the way it's regulated.
So once we have more information on that, if you are a current customer, we are happy to share that update of when Hong Kong becomes available.
Yep.
What kind of traffic is allowed for in-country, meaning national to national calls?
Okay, so if it's an in-country call, basically any calls from a legitimate phone number, so a fixed line number or a mobile number, and there's certain non-geographic numbers that can make outbound calls, but that's going to depend on the in-country regulation. So maybe we need a slightly more country-specific follow-up question that we could reply to on there. They're all allowed to make calls, and we can make calls to any other national numbers that are provided. We tend to have, obviously we can't make calls to emergency services because we don't own the numbers, so we don't have the customer information. But any other numbers, we tend to have premium rate blocked by default because business-to-business calls rarely go to premium rate and they're hugely expensive. But if that was a main part of a business case, then come and talk to us and we'll see what we can do.
So they asked a little bit more specifically, do we offer both like normal conversational and promotional types of outbound for national calling?
So, yeah, our standard phone calls, of course. By promotional, I presume we're talking about telemarketing stuff. And in which case, in line with the rest of the industry, it's providing that this maintains the codes of practice for the industry. So there's correct screening against telephone preference list. And yeah, basically, it's a proper telepreference. It's a proper sort of telemarketing type call. And again, we can go over the details of what they would have to comply, but that's quite an individual specific one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have more questions, absolutely reach out to us about those specific use cases and we can hop on to discuss that one-on-one. So Jim, why would I want to send bandwidth my third-party traffic?
It's a great question, isn't it? And I guess all I'm going to say to you, Paige, is what we've already covered. I think the fact that it's easy to use, it's a straightforward one connection. We do all the work of differentiating between national and international. We'll route all the national calls directly into the PSTN network. So you get better CLI presentation, you're going to get better call quality, and you're going to get a better answer rate on those calls because they'll be delivered in local format.
That's a great way for us to end, isn't it? On all the good things that we can offer you. So as a quick reminder, we're going to send out this recording after, along with the country list of what we offer for national and international EVT. Again, we still have those 223 that we can do international calling on as well, those countries and territories. We are more than happy to answer any of your specific questions and hop on to discuss your personal use case. We're excited to continue to work with you and support you with your outbound calling needs. And that's EVT. So thanks for joining the Bandwidth Buzz.